I brought in $1 million to the organization. I only took home 400K.
That moment, the gap between what he made and what he kept was the start of everything. That's the question every successful associate eventually faces. Today's conversation is for the rainmakers, for the listeners who have mastered getting cases but want to know what really happens when you apply the talent to building something on your own. This is Personal Injury Mastermind. I'm Chris Dreyer, host, founder, and CEO of Rankings.io, an Inc. 5000 company for the past 7 years in a row. Joe Volta made the leap where he went from employee to empire builder, from asking permissions to giving direction, to creating opportunities for 20 team members who now work on his terms. He did it without sacrificing his family, without the 4 a.m. wake-ups and midnight emails. What did he know that most rainmakers don't? This conversation might be the reason you finally stop hesitating. Let's begin.
I was being told, like, look, man, you're valuable. You can bring in your own business. That's the hardest part, right? Getting cases, getting people to know you. But there are a lot of things that go into starting a firm that you don't really realize the benefit of being at another firm. You automatically have a website and they just put a picture up with you on it. You automatically have email, or maybe they've been using it for 5 years because it's a new firm, but they still have form documents that you don't have.
A lot of people have, different areas, strengths, and you've been able to bring it in, lead gen, social media. Let's talk about, in particular, social. I get a lot of heat for social because I see so many PI attorneys doing social, and it's like a check the box item. It's not a lead generation strategy. I think they're approaching it incorrectly. So I guess let's just briefly talk about lead gen, like how you're thinking about social, things like that.
I've kind of pulled back from creating a lot of content because I'm just trying to find that time. And now that's such a relative word, right? We make time for things that are important, right? But on my side of things, like things that are important are my family, right? Spending time with them. So I'm not going to do the whole Alex Hormozy working 20 hours a day and sleeping 4, right? There is a place for that, but I'm not 20 years old with no girlfriend, no wife, no family, no other interests, right? I didn't get a law license till I was 30. I had zero social media presence, just even friends on a Facebook account until 2020. So I use like social media as a strategy to meet other attorneys, and basically was shopping myself as I can help you and you do nothing and you make money. And that's been a great source of helping me get cases. And back to the lead gen side of things, people that use an SEO company like yourself, they might be getting personal injury cases for $1,500 to $3K a case. I'm getting personal injury cases for much higher, right? If you're sending me a case that we get settled for $100K, I paid 11 grand for that case, right? But I didn't pay for it up front. And so I'm not, using marketing money on March 5th and not getting that marketing money back until, December 5th, right? Because that 8-month life cycle of the case, sometimes longer, right? But I'm paying a substantially higher premium for the case.
I hear that a lot about, the trial, the litigators, and hey, we don't pay for marketing, but you do through your split, your referral commission, because you're paying that piece for them to originate versus yourself. But again, the upfront cash flow, you don't have that, so there's some advantages there. And yeah, I think you're going about it right. I think the website looks good. I was checking out your rankings. You're already starting to rank in Charlotte. I think all of it kind of compounds and works together. The individuals that I see that have, at least who I work with, that have the most issues is like they'll pick one channel and that channel goes down and they were just relying on it. I think the omnipresence is continue to expand but not diluting too much. There's like that balancing act, right, of becoming good and doing the social right. Yeah. So
yeah, I would say like social media is strange to me. Like I've gotten to a place now with it where and I've gotten a lot more comfortable in my own skin. And I won't say that I'm fake on social media, because I do post a lot of real stuff where, I go in there and make a funny complaint about something that I find is stupid. But because I'm so reliant on, a lot of the relationships I have and trying to manage different people, it prevents me from being 100%. authentic with some things. I'd probably say I'm about 90%, and then I keep 10 to myself, which maybe isn't necessarily a bad thing because at the end of the day, social media is just a highlight reel. I need to buy that book, Fireproof, and I don't even know Mike. I'm not even trying to, it's not even me about like trying to rep that book. Someone just told me to like, that's exactly what he went through apparently. And I don't want that to happen to me because we've grown the organization from 2023 when we started. It was 4 of us, and now we're at just under 20. I think we're at 16 or 17 team members now. We have like 4 virtual assistants, 6 case managers, 2 intake people, an office manager, 2 litigation folks, 3 attorneys. So whoever's listening can do all the math on that because I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't know that I got to 20 people for maybe the first 3 or 4 years. So 20 people quickly. Are you and Michael basically recruiting yourselves? Are you using like third-party recruiting company? Do you have HR helping you? How did you staff up so quick? I mean, that's pretty fast.
Yeah. We have over 700 cases in our inventory right now. I'd probably say, about 400 of them are active, like in the middle of treatment. And then we probably have about 10% of our cases in litigation. So we listen to our team, right? We obviously, I read and look into a lot of ways to maximize operations. We've used a recruiter who I'm kind of like friends with. He helped me get a job when I first moved to Carolina. So I'm like friendly with him. I mean, obviously we pay him for his services, but I've used a recruiter, given that I give him like stringent guidelines on like what it is I'm looking for. And then, we interview folks and we've made them offers. Our lead case manager, my wife found her on one of those mom websites on Facebook. She was helping people answer like legal questions and even saying all the right stuff. I've gotten people off listservs before. Is another good place. You just see random posts like, hey, so-and-so's firm's closing, has staff looking for a job. They're qualified with XYZ qualifications. So found somebody that way. And then the virtual assistants, I just know a couple of people that I've reached out to that I know own, remote staffing companies.
Last time we talked on the previous podcast, I'd really encourage everyone to listen because we really go into details about social media and your strategy and everything you're doing there. You're already originating some cases through referrals, through digital. How did you like think about and approach intake? Because I know at some point you're managing your own DMs and doing that thing, and maybe you do a portion of that still, but like how do you think about intake at the firm?
If you send me a DM on my Instagram at High Voltage Law, it's only me that responds. So, and it's only me to blame if you don't get a response back. But anyway, so like the intake part, when we really started ramping up in 2023, it was too much for me to handle. I mean, when I first started, I did the intake calls. I called leads. I vetted leads. I set clients up for medical treatment. I did all of that myself. And so if you're young or you're new, like you do need to do all that. And you should want to know how to do all of that because then, you can't run your company if you don't. But we transitioned to, I have 2 women that all they do all day is call leads. And we use Lead Docket is the platform that we use. We use CasePeer as our client management system. They don't link up perfectly because Lead Docket is a FileVine property, but they link up okay enough. And to be honest, I don't have it in me, and I don't think my team has it in me for me to change case management system. So I'll probably be CasePeer until I die or until my firm closes or until I sell my firm. I don't think I have it in me for the change. But we have it set up where they are the ones on the phone. We use Teams for inter-office communication because we have a hybrid model firm. We have people in the office, people in different states, and that's how we run all the leads, looking at reports daily, checking on our metrics. And Lead Docket's great because it puts things in different buckets of the actual intake life cycle, right? Because you have a full case life cycle, but intake is its kind of own, can of worms. You have the initial lead, then you contact the lead. They might not answer. So then it goes into another bucket kind of that we call chase. So then you're trying to call that lead and you can mark how many times you've chased the lead. And then you can move it to whether it's been signed up. You can move it to a hold status. If you need to get more information, if you're not, understanding what the client's saying, and you're like, I need to see a crash report, I need to see some photos, you can kind of put the case on hold and not necessarily sign it right away. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can do to kind of break out the life cycle of an intake case before it actually hits the case management system and you're helping clients get into treatment. opening claims, etc. So it's been a game changer for us. It's just trying to run it through case peer when it wasn't the best for what our firm needed. I'm not saying it doesn't work for some other firms that I know use case peer for everything.
So a lot of times we get guests on here and they'll say their CRM, but they don't talk about like the utilization, the phases, the chases. And so I appreciate the breakdown. I think that'd be helpful for the audience. A lot of times it's like getting those average fees up, and there's one part, it's like originating the lead in the case for a cheap price, but then the next is like getting your average fees up. And I believe on social, you mentioned securing a $3 million settlement on a case where the initial offer was, $750K, and you guys are willing to litigate and, go to the final hour. Tell me about that decision. You're hiring another dedicated trial attorney now, and how you're approaching like maximizing the case values.
I had to give all the credit to my partner on that case. I mean, we bounced ideas off of. It was his case. I by no means want to take credit away from him. He did a killer job on that case. Yeah, Michael Chandler. Yep. He's my law partner. He was kind of my mentor when I was working for him. That was a case he originated. But to your other point of how are we maximizing value, and yes, we do take cases to trial. We do put cases into litigation. And a lot of that, when you're setting up a firm, you have to decide on what kind of firm you want to have, right? Or do you want to be pre-lit focused? Do you want to do exclusively trial work? And you have to make the decisions based on that. Pre-lit focused, you have more cash flow quickly. You typically also have a lot of lower end cases. And I'm not saying that people's injuries aren't legitimate. And I'm not saying that their lives or their cases don't matter. It's just someone that doesn't have a whole lot of treatment and they're back to quote unquote feeling normal after 2 months. That case obviously is not worth what a disputed liability death case is worth. What type of firm is it? And what kind of life do you want to have? Litigation obviously takes much longer to do. High-end litigation, even longer to do than just your regular soft tissue case. And so we have certain criteria that we set out within our firm, whether we're going to litigate the case or if it's a case that we don't feel good recommending the pre-lit offer to the client, referring that case out to other firms that are newer or that they've had more success, litigating lower value soft tissue cases to just kind of keep the time on desk moving along. And then with respect to managing the cases, we kind of have a protocol of how to help guide clients when they ask what they should do for medical treatment, whether or not they have their own doctors or where to go, that help build the case value. Because at the end of the day, as a plaintiff's attorney, it's our burden to prove our injuries to an insurance carrier. And most of the ways that you do that is through the medical documentation. Because if not, I don't really want to be defending insurance companies, but how would they guard against fraud? If anyone could just say, "Oh, I have a broken back," well, how do they know that?
Pre-lit does have the cash flow, the cash acceleration advantages. And, I know a lot of pre-lit only shops think they're getting those maximum values for cases, but they're really not. I mean, you probably seen it with your data. The closer you go to trial, those numbers just keep going up. But it changes the operation. To keep a good trial lawyer, now you got to think about profit share or equity. They have a unique skill set, and all those different components, like paying them really well and for their value. For those that maybe get an out of jurisdiction case and they get in the Carolinas and they don't have, they want to refer out, like tell me about your firm, tell me about the Carolinas, why you're a good option for those individuals.
I'm licensed in both states. North Carolina and South Carolina they're very different in how they go about things. I mean, right now there's a tort reform bill that's going on in South Carolina. Hopefully we can keep fighting that and not have that go through. And then in North Carolina, tort reform hit in 2011, and I was not licensed there then, but they're very different states in that. I guess the two biggest things that are different about them is North Carolina, they have contributory negligence. So, 1% at fault, you recover nothing. And I always find it funny. Sometimes you'll see crazy trial verdicts across the country with famous, trial lawyers that handled the case. And they're like, they're only 30% liability on my client. My client's going to recover $70 million out of this $100 million verdict. And I chuckle to myself because I don't think that there are any worse trial lawyers. I'm like, they wouldn't even take that case in North Carolina because they would get zero with how contributory negligence works. right? So it's 1% at fault, you get nothing. South Carolina has comparative fault, so it's a little bit, easier, and it has, better, more plaintiff-friendly laws, at least for the time being. But, I'd say that, you choose us in the Carolinas, because I always tell my clients, well, referral partners, I always tell the same thing. You know what I mean? You don't have to do any work, and I'm essentially sending you mailbox money, and you're able to monetize the case you otherwise could potentially mess up.
Whether you're thinking about making a leap or looking to refine your existing practice, Joe's experience offers valuable wisdom. Start with your strengths, build infrastructure intentionally, and never lose sight of what you wanted, independence in the first place. If Joe's insights have sparked your curiosity about starting your own firm or improving your intake systems, you can reach him directly at jvolta@lawyercarolina.com. That's jvolta@lawyercarolina.com. This has been Personal Injury Mastermind. I'm Chris Dreyer, and until next time, remember that talent that makes it rain for others can create an ocean of your own.